far, I've only used the HTVRont Phone Case Heat Press for, well, a phone case. But today I am finally branching out. I'm going to start by making some sublimation pins, and then I've got a few more blanks lined up just to see how this little press handles them. Now at the very end, I've saved one surprise project that the company never even mentioned. I just have to see if it's going to work. If you'd like to see as well, stick around. Hey everyone, it's Lean from ColoradoLean.com. Welcome back to the craft room. Let's jump right into our first project in the Locklick IdeaStudio software. As with our phone case, we're going to come over to My Device on the right-hand side and choose the phone case heat press. Today we're going to choose the flat substrate, and you will see a number of templates that are available, including a round coaster, a circular keychain, a luggage tag, a ceramic plate, a square keychain, badges, and a square coaster. So let's go ahead and choose badges. Just like with the iPhone 16 template, we have two guidelines to work with. The red circle is the outside diameter of our badge or our pin, and then the green dash line is the portion that will wrap around the pin. We are able to make 3 of them at one time. Now, what we do want to pay attention to is how this is set up. I'll explain more when we get back over to the heat press. All right, let's go ahead and upload our first image. And again, this will exceed our canvas size, so I'm going to let the software scale it down for me. And it is still incredibly large. Now, I want to make sure that this little drawing is inside of the red line, but I also need to make sure that the outside of the image comes to the dashed green line. Now, if you'll remember with my phone case, I had way more ink on the film than I needed. So I am going to scale that back quite a bit this time. All right, now my image is the size that I needed. However, I need to rotate this. So I will come up to the top menu bar and I will rotate this 90 degrees. And then I will upload my second button. Okay, that is the size I need. And again, I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. And I'm going to be making 2 of these pins. So I'm going to right click and copy, and then I will paste. So let's go ahead and print our image. In the print preview window that comes up, it says to make sure your image is mirrored. Ignore it if it's already done. I do not have to worry about that because my Epson SureColor F170 Sublimation printer mirrors all of my images for me. So I will just hit print. In the print setup window, I will change to my Sublimation printer. And then I will choose properties. I am printing on a rigid, I will be transferring onto a rigid surface. My quality will go to high. And under more options, I will turn off bidirectional printing. And you will see here that mirror image is already chosen. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And then I will get my sublimation film into my printer, get this printed, and I'll meet you back over at the craft desk. While our badges are printing, let's go ahead and get the HTVRont Phone Case Heat Press set up and ready to go. We'll go ahead and lift the cover. And to sublimate the badges, we do need our accessory plate. So we want to make sure we have this side with the holes on it. And we want to make sure that this center badge is towards the bottom. And then we will get out our little fixtures. Now again, these have little feet on them and they fit perfectly, just like that. When we were in the software, I mentioned that we wanted to make sure we rotated our images 90 degrees. That's because when we were creating it in the software, our template was in the vertical position. However, the machine is in a horizontal position. And you'll notice these little cutouts, and that is where the pin sits. So we wanted to make sure our design was printed correctly so that when we put the pin on our shirt or our coat, what have you, then it would read correctly. So now that we know that, let's go ahead and bring out our guide here. And we are going to make a pin or a badge. I keep waffling back and forth on that. The material is metal. We have our badge fixture in place. So let's go ahead and turn this on. Today we need a upper and lower heat plate setting of 285 degrees. So again, we will hit our temperature button. It will be yellow, and we'll increase the temperature to 285. Push the temperature button again, it will turn red. And we will increase the lower plate to 285 degrees. We need a preheat time of, again, 2 to 10 seconds. And I'm going to stay with the 5 seconds that I had programmed yesterday. And that is when the light is yellow. And we need to sublimate it for 330 seconds. So when the light is red, then we will increase this 30 seconds. So again, we have the upper and lower heat plate set to 285 degrees. Our total time will be 335 seconds, which will be 5 seconds for a preheat and 330 seconds for the sublimation time. So we'll go ahead and let this come up to temperature. And as soon as the top warms up a little bit, I will put my film on here and let that dry. And then we will be right back to it. All right, we are back. I have cleaned the badges. I've had the film sitting up here for about 5 minutes or so. And we will put our badges in here. Now we do kind of want to line them up in the center if possible. That'll make getting our images lined up a little easier. And then we will take our film. Pardon my head, I want to make sure this is sort of lined up. All right, close the lid. And then we will press our start button. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, shoot. Okay, well, that one didn't quite turn out right. Didn't get it lined up. Okay, well, I had one badge kind of sort of come out, and these not at all. I think I forgot to warm up my sublimation blank before I put the film on there. So that was my bad. And then, of course, lining it up is a whole nother ball of wax. But yeah, you can see on here that there is still quite a bit of ink left on there. So it did not get hot enough. And that was a me fail, not a machine fail. Okay, well, let's move on to the next project and see if we can fare better on that side. Now that we've sublimated some buttons, let's move on to some other items. I want to sublimate a ceramic ornament. I picked these up from Hobby Lobby. And I have been dying to try sublimation slates in this machine. Before we head back over into IdeaStudio software, let's go ahead and take some measurements of these items just so we get the correct size. I believe these can be sublimated on either side. Okay, so let's go ahead and measure our ornament first. And this is about 2 3/4 of an inch wide. These slates I did pick up from Michael's, and they do come wrapped together. And they also come with little plastic feet. So we will put those on at the very end. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and measure the back of this slate. And that is just a little under, or right at 3 3/4. All right, let's head back on over to IdeaStudio, and we will get our images set up and printed, and then we will come back and talk about the time and temperature. All right, now that we are back in the lock-click IdeaStudio software, let's go ahead and work on our ornament first. So over here on the right-hand side under flat substrate, we will choose our ceramic plate. And again, we have our template, the red line and the dash line. So let's go ahead and upload our image. And again, the software would like to scale it down for us, so we'll go ahead and say yes. And as always, it is still really large. Let's go ahead and zoom into our canvas, and then we will start shrinking this down. If we size this to the red circle, it is just a little over 3 inches. And if you'll recall, our ornament measures 2 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to increase this just a tiny bit larger. Now, I do wish there was a way that I could easily center this image on the paper, but I have not been able to find that particular feature. Okay, so this is now 3.22 inches, and I'm going to call that good. All right, I did jump up and make sure that my printer pulled it in, and it is now printing. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I'm just going to right-click with my mouse and delete it. And I'm going to come over to a square coaster. Again, I will hit upload. And I am going to use this fun image. So I'm going to shrink that down, and then I will increase my page. Let's go ahead and just print it to size. For this first one, I have 2 coasters to make. However, I am running out of the sublimation film that came with my phone case heat press. So this is a test for me. So I am going to make this full size. And then I will see how it turns out. And I will make adjustments for the second coaster when I get more film. All right, I have both of my images printed, and I may have made an error with the ornament. I should have perhaps just sized it to the green outline. We'll see what happens. And of course, learning curve, gotta love them. So I'm gonna go ahead and set these aside. And let's talk about what we need to do with our HTVRont phone case heat press. So we'll go ahead and open that up. And as with the buttons, we need to use our plate. There are etched lines in the plate to show you where you need to line things up. So we have a round keychain, we have a round ornament, we have a round coaster. There is a large square coaster. I believe this large rectangle would be a luggage tag. And this smaller rectangle could be a keychain. I'm not sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to place this into our machine. And let me bring my table back in. Now for a ceramic plate, of course, we need our base plate. This says we need a temperature of 285 degrees for both the upper and lower plates. We need a 2 to 10 second preheat and a 300-second transfer time. Now, on the packaging for our ornaments, it suggests a temperature of 400 degrees, but a time of only 120 seconds. So I think for today's experiment, I'm going to use the time and temperature that is suggested with the phone case heat press. So we'll go ahead and turn our machine on. And as I said, we need 285 degrees. So I will push the temperature button once, and that is at 285 degrees. And if you'll recall, the yellow light is our top heat plate. And I will press it again for red, and it is again already preset for 285 degrees. With our preheat time, I think I'm going to increase that to 8 seconds. And then I will press it again and drop this down to 300 seconds for our time. So again, we are going up to 285 degrees for the upper and lower plate. And we will be sublimating for a total of 308 seconds. So I'm going to let this come up to temperature and I'll be right back with you. All right, while the machine was heating up, I did clean my ornament with 91% isopropyl alcohol and a lint-free rag. And I'm going to just set this in here and line it up. Now, here, let me close this for just one more second. When you're setting up your design, you need to be cautious when you put your ornament, especially if it's something that needs to go a certain direction. You need to be cautious how you put your ornament in the machine. So my design is going to go this way. So I need to make sure the hole is going to the left. So I will line this up on my plate. And I will do my best to get that centered. All right. And then I will put that in there to warm up. And I will put my sublimation film on the top cover and let that sit for approximately 5 minutes. All right, we have been preheating for about 5 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and open the lid, flip this upside down, and do my best to line it up. All right, we are down to the last few seconds. Let's see how this ornament turned out. And again, we want to do a hot peel. Oh, that is so pretty. Oh, I like that. And it did come around on the sides. We'll zoom in much closer to these at the end of the video. Now for our slate, the table that comes with the HTVRont Phone Case Heat Press does not talk about slate at all. It has a TPU, PC type plastic material, metal, ceramic, leather, and MDF. So for the slate, I'm going to defer to the Make Market Sublimation instructions. And for this slate coaster, we need to preheat to 356 degrees. So I am going to change the temperature on both the, oh, well, isn't that interesting? Okay. We can only go to 320 degrees for the top plate. And 320 degrees for the bottom plate. So there is a temperature stop. Okay, so 320, that's 36 degrees cooler than the Make Market suggestion. And it is already up to temperature. It says that we should press this for 360 seconds. Let's see. Since we can't go all the way up to the temperature, let's increase the preheat time to 10 seconds. And let's see, 360. Let's do 400 seconds. Yeah, I did not know that there was a temperature stoppage, I guess. But we'll just see what we have. So again, I did clean this with isopropyl alcohol. And I'm going to place this down in the center. And then I will place my image on the lid and we will let that warm up for about 5 minutes. All right, it has been approximately 5 minutes. So let's go ahead and get our image in here. And again, we have the upper and lower plates at 320 degrees, which is the highest this will go. And we are going to sublimate this for 410 seconds. Here we go. Let's see what we have. Oh, that is so pretty. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love, 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 love. All right. Again, I will bring this up nice and close for you at the very end. This is very, very hot. Remember at the very beginning, I told you there was one thing I wanted to try that I had not seen anybody else try yet. Sublimation pens. This I have got to try. Now, this is something that I cannot do with the sublimation presses that I own. This is something that has to be done in an oven because it's a round tube. So I'm going to see, sorry for all that noise. I want to see exactly how this is going to work. Now, in the packaging from Make Market, they have little shrink wrap sleeves. So when you're doing this in an oven, you print your image, wrap it around the barrel of the pen, tape it down, and then put one of these little sleeves on there, shrink it down, and then that is the pressure that you need. We're not going to do that, obviously. So I need to take these apart. Okay, and it just comes apart like that. So we have the clicker part, and then we have our ink. So I'm going to unscrew this. And set that aside. Now I have absolutely no idea how this is going to work out, if it's even going to work out. So basically, we're going rogue on this. I do want to use my isopropyl alcohol and clean these up. Now these are just aluminum, so you do want to be careful with them. Now what I think is going to happen is I'm going to set this down on my heat plate, and I think I'm going to have a white line where it is sitting on the plate. However, because this is a vacuum system, there is a chance that it could vacuum all the way around because this is not heavy at all. So we'll have to see what happens. Now, I did just print a solid image. Well, not a solid image, but it's just a pretty snowflake background. Now, again, looking at the sublimation directions here. Now, this is talking about for a sublimation oven, which of course I don't have. It says to preheat to 356 degrees, which we know this will not get to, and heat it for 150 seconds. So Let me rearrange this again. I'll bring our girl back in. Again, we are set to 320 degrees for the top plate, 320 degrees for the bottom plate. And for the preheat time, I think I'm going to drop that back down to 5 seconds. And I'm just flying by the seat of my pants here. I have no idea what I'm doing. For the sublimation time, it says 150 seconds. I think I'm going to go 180 seconds. All right, so I'm going to put my gloves back on. And let's line these up. And again, I'm going to put this line down. And now we will put our image matte side up, and we'll let this go for about 5 minutes. Okay, it hasn't been anywhere near 5 minutes, but I am too excited to try this. So let's see what happens. All right, we'll line that up. Close her down, push the button, see what happens. All right, we are at the last 13 seconds, and I just thought of something, but we'll talk about that at the very end. I just really need to know how this turns out. So let's lift the lid and find out. Oh, nope. Nope, that didn't work like I thought it would. Okay, well, you know what? There you go. You have to live and learn. It did not go as far around as I expected it to. But you know what? You never know until you try. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. I'm going to let everything cool down, and we will be back in a little bit. Talk about our wins, talk about our fails, and we'll see what's next. Well, that wraps up my little experiment with the HTVRont Phone Case Heat Press beyond the phone cases. I definitely had a mix of wins and fails. Now, the pins were a total bust. I really think this was a user error rather than a problem with the machine. I was in way too much of a hurry, and I didn't let the badges preheat before adding the sublimation film. That showed up right away in the results. The colors didn't transfer well at all. And this button even ended up with an odd green cast to it. On top of that, the pins seemed to shift a little bit during the vacuum process, which did throw off the alignment. Definitely a good reminder to slow down and follow the steps. On the flip side, this ceramic ornament from Hobby Lobby turned out beautifully. Even after shrinking my design to fit the 2 3/4 inch size, the colors came out so vibrant, and it wrapped around the edges perfectly. I can't wait to finish this off by adding the year in permanent vinyl here on the back. But the biggest win of the day, hands down, was this Slate coaster. I wasn't sure it would work since the press maxes out at 320 degrees, and the suggested temperature for this blank is 356 degrees. But with a little extra time, the results are stunning. The color is vibrant, the image is sharp, and even the chipped edges sublimated perfectly, something I just can't get with my larger heat press. And then there were the pens. I really hoped the vacuum would work to wrap this design farther around than it did, but it just didn't. I may have overcooked the blanks as well. If I'd paid closer attention to the settings that came with the heat press, I could have tried a lower temperature and a longer time option. Live and learn, right? Now, I did have a second thought that perhaps I could create an image with regular sublimation paper, wrap it around the barrel of the pen, and use the little shrink wrap sleeve that comes with it. Maybe then I could put it in the press with a extra piece of film with no image on it, and I could sublimate them that way. That I'm going to give a try when I get more film in the mail. But for now, lesson learned. Now, there is some residual ink left here on the accessories plate. I think you can see it here, this pink color. I don't remember where I saw this from, but I did read somewhere that you can clean this off with alcohol. So let's give that a try and see if that's true. So again, I am using 91% isopropyl alcohol. And we will just wipe this down. Well, it is coming off for sure. That is a really good thing. It does look like the etched lines are stained, so that could be something to keep in mind. I will definitely work on that some more, perhaps with a Q-tip, and see how much more of that ink I can get off of there. But as you can see here, it did take some of the ink off. And I can't really see it here on the bare metal itself. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Overall, I'd say this little machine can definitely handle more than just phone cases. And with a bit of trial and error, you can get some really amazing results. I hope seeing both the wins and the fails gives you a good idea of what this press can do. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your crafty friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you'd like a closer look at the projects today, I'll have plenty of photos waiting for you over on the corresponding blog post at coloradolean.com.